All right, welcome to RetireJapan TV, where we talk about personal finance, investing, retirement, and life in Japan.
And going on holiday as well, maybe?
Yeah, so I am actually in northern Spain at the moment, and it feels very strange indeed to be doing RetireJapan TV at lunchtime.
Where are you then? You're in a hotel or something?
I wasn't expecting it to feel this strange.
You're in a hotel, or you're not by the beach, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a little hotel, little boutique hotel. So the town I'm staying in only has this one hotel.
Oh,
and their Wi-Fi doesn't work.
So you're on your phone right now.
Streaming, yeah, I'm on my phone's data plan. We're going to talk about phones and traveling later on, actually.
Yeah,
foreshadowing there.
Okay.
And of course, it's like 1 p.m. here because
right, it's unusual.
Japan's +9 from GMT, Spain's +1. It's in a weird time zone. It probably should be in the UK time zone if you look at the maps, but it's in the German time zone. I think because of Franco and Hitler and all that. Possibly.
Oh, okay.
Look it up. Yeah. And of course, it's summertime, so 7 hours difference at the moment. Can I do a little rant about summertime?
Oh, yeah, please do.
Don't know if I've said this before, but you know how we don't have summertime in Japan?
Yeah, thankfully.
And I don't like summertime. I think it's annoying and confusing and kind of annoying, but I do think Japan's in the wrong time zone. Right? So in Japan, for example, at the moment, at least in Sendai, it gets light at like 4 a.m. And then it gets dark at 7 p.m. Surely it would be better if it got light at, say, 6 a.m. and got dark at 9 p.m. Much more pleasant for everyone. So I think Japan should just shift 2 hours to the west, I guess, time-wise.
That does
and just change the time zone entirely.
Okay. Yeah, I can see the reason for that, the logic for that. It does get dark very early, compared to back home in the UK. In the summer.
Yeah, and it gets light ridiculously early. I feel like I'm in Iceland or something, you know? It's the midnight sun. Or it's the 4 a.m. sun.
Okay, so you start you start a petition and we'll all sign it.
No, that's going to be my platform when I run for Prime Minister.
Good. Get naturalized first, and then you do that, and we'll all support you.
Yeah, when I'm ready for the Sendai City Assembly, that'll be my platform.
That's why you're trying to get naturalized. Okay, the evil plan is becoming clear.
Yeah, like politicians get like really good pensions. I think based on having one term in office, basically.
Oh, I see.
So that's the retirement hack. Like naturalize, get elected to some city position, and then get a really good pension.
It's quite a lot of hurdles for a bigger pension. I would just go for a NISA personally, but if you want to do that route, go for it.
That's probably a bit easier, isn't it?
Yeah. Ex-chapter, hello there. And you have a good point, actually. So they say that one reason that this person has heard, ex-chapter has heard, is that if it is still light out when it's later, the working late culture here will be even worse. That's a good point.
Oh, that
maybe that's not the original reason.
Surprise me. But I think the working culture in Japan's changing now, actually.
Yes.
With the labor crunch and with young people having opinions about the kind of life they want. So I think, working culture is not going to go back to that in Japan. At least once the current young people become middle management or whatever.
Yes. So I have anecdotal data for that. Our son is in a sort of medium-sized Japanese company in Tokyo, and he's now coming up to the end of the third month. Just started as a full-time salary.
And he hasn't quit yet.
No, he's enjoying it. He likes it. Even the commute is okay with, which I wouldn't be. Anyway, he likes it. And so one thing that is good is that they do not allow overtime. So it's not like you don't need to do overtime. No, that at one point, him and his friend or something, they were there at 1 minute past the finishing time, and the manager called him over and said, "Look, I'm going to get into trouble if you're over, the finishing time. Please, don't do it." Now, the people above him, as you just said earlier, the middle management, they do stay late, but certainly these new recruits in his department anyway, HR is very strict about them not staying late. So maybe that's shifting, from that level up. It's going to be coming up through the rest of the company eventually.
I think so. So I think it's it's an employees market at the moment because there's nowhere near enough employees. So if they don't like a position, they're very happy to switch.
Yeah. Von Golea, hello, has a good point here. What about existing black companies or companies that have some practice of blackness, I suppose? I just want to clarify, when we say black companies in Japan, it comes from braku kaisha, which means companies that do not follow the rules, or they kind of skirt the rules and get away with it, but they are not following the spirit of the rules. So yeah, they do make you pay, do extra overtime without paying you properly, or they might even pay you, but they make you do, I don't know, 80 hours a week or something crazy like that, as well as various other ways where they're making your life a misery inside the company and making it difficult to quit as well, I think. I imagine that's not changing for them. And those companies, I think, are generally people who are just looking for any kind of work just to get some money.
Right. They don't have as many options.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you could, you'd probably leave your unpleasant company with bad labor practices, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Don't think that'll change anytime soon. But I guess that's kind of the same all over the world. All countries have that. Or
Probably.
maybe not as bad as Japan.
But I think the culture used to be, like put up with stuff and if you quit your job, no one else is going to hire you. That's very much not the case now, isn't it?
Yeah. And you can see that from the adverts on the TV. There's so many adverts for recruitment companies for mid-career changes.
Yeah. Still probably the best way to increase your salary.
Oh, really? Yeah. In Japan. Even.
Yeah, change companies, right? So your existing company is not going to give you a 50% pay rise, but if you go somewhere else, it might be a new position, that kind of thing. So.
Yes. Yeah. And following up on that, Lex Miller. Hello, Lex. The company that they worked for had HR rules preventing too much overtime. It was policed by HR. There was a max per month rather than per day. Okay, so a different kind of system, but yeah, similarly, they're getting strict about it, which is good.
Good. Yeah. So some things are getting better in Japan since the time when we got here.
Well, that's a great segue for our main topic today, which is then and now in Japan. For people who have been here a long time, being a non-Japanese person in Japan right now feels quite different to how it used to be, let's say 10, 20 years ago, or even longer. I'm about 20 years, I think. So I can't speak for before that, but
I'm almost 26, so I got here 2000.
Yeah. Now, the reason this topic came about is because there was a video by Dogen. I think you like Dogen. I really, I don't watch all of his videos, but I do like the way he presents and talks, and certainly very knowledgeable and funny as well. Very, very enjoyable watching his videos. He puts a lot of effort into them, I think. Anyway, he did one recently, which is why teaching English in Japan can bankrupt you. And it's relevant for people not teaching English, I think. It also covers sort of general finance and how to save a bit of money here. So I do recommend watching it. But one thing he mentions is, for example, the JET program, and how coming over here on the JET program is different now to how it was back in the day when you and I came over on it. And it's a struggle to make ends meet. So I don't actually know the reality. I'm just going from what he says in the video, but he's saying if you come over with these sort of false assumptions, it can really be a struggle to make ends meet, and can really put you off Japan and make you want to leave, because you're not going to enjoy yourself struggling so much because the salary is not as good as you thought it was.
Actually, I think, funnily enough, the JET program just put their salary up.
Oh, okay.
For the first time in ages.
Right. So it used to be very good.
So it's now, I think it's about 4 million now, which is more than
Okay.
it used to be. So
Oh,
I think
okay.
he's mainly talking about dispatch companies where salaries haven't gone up
Oh, I
in the
see.
video.
Okay.
So, a dispatch company might pay you, if you're lucky, 250 a month, maybe 230 a month.
Really? Wow.
And that's basically minimum wage, isn't it?
Yeah. Can you say what you mean by dispatch company, please?
Yeah, so a dispatch company is a private company that, well, sends workers to work in other places. And in the terms of English teaching, it's an ALT dispatch company. So they'll send assistant language teachers to work in schools. And it's a little bit iffy, I think, legally, because people who work in schools are not supposed to be dispatched. They're supposed to work for the Board of Education. But there's a workaround where you pretend you're not working for the Board of Education and you don't get instructions from the school or the Board of Education, but rather only from your company. And it's a bit clunky the way they've tried to get around that. And the reason these came in is not actually financial. It's actually hassle. So I was in Miyagi Board of Education as the chief ALT advisor, and I lost my job because they switched to dispatch. And the sales pitch was, these are trained people. We train them, we manage them. You don't have to do anything. There's no hassles with these, foreign people. You just deal with us, a nice Japanese company, and we deal with the foreign teachers. And it just reduces the amount of work. So there's no real money saving involved, because obviously the dispatch company is taking a cut of the salary. And that's how it was sold, basically. And they're very popular now. So when they first started, they almost didn't exist when we came over on Jet. And now the majority of ALTs work at dispatch companies rather than through the Jet program.
Oh, is that right? Wow, I didn't realize that was such a big thing. Wow.
Yeah, and the working condition that pays much lower. Working conditions obviously vary because it's more dependent on the schools you work at than the company you work for. The kind of experience you're going to have. But financially, at least, there's an enormous difference between coming on the Jet program and working for a dispatch company.
Yeah.
And the problem is people that couldn't get onto the Jet program might settle for a dispatch company instead, just in order to come to Japan. And right now, $230 a month is not going to go very far, is it?
Right. The image that you have of Japan and then the reality when you arrive is going to be very different. Yeah. Whereas back in our day, so I think I assume the Jet program itself has not changed much. It was really good, and this might be linked with the sort of hassle thing you were talking about. They look after the people on the program very well, and from what I saw, they make the city halls or whatever, or the boards of education, look after the people on the program well as well. There are various rules that they have to abide by, like you have to pay for a business class ticket for this person to fly back to their home country or something like that.
I was the last year to get that.
Oh, really? Wow.
So we came over on business, and that was it. After the year after, they cut that from the benefits.
Yeah, and the salary was good. So that's the one thing. Well, that's probably the biggest thing that has changed, is that the salary has not changed. Although, as you and HC have pointed out, it's just gone up recently, which is good. But back in the day, it was
when I
nice.
came here, the Jet program, I think, was the largest employer of UK graduates, and very competitive salary-wise compared to graduate positions in the UK. So it was amazing. Whereas now, mainly because of the exchange rate, Jet is it's like 2/3 of a normal graduate salary, if that.
Yeah, it's a shame it's not kept up. Although it was pretty generous. And then I remember speaking to people at the time, sharing my salary, and they were surprised I was just out of university earning so much in Japan.
Yeah.
I wish I'd saved more, actually.
That's
at the time.
Misleading, because I had the same thing with like teachers at my school and stuff.
How's it
But they
split?
weren't taking into account that we didn't get bonuses, for example,
Oh, yes.
which makes a
Yes.
huge difference, right? They were going off monthly salary and comparing it to their monthly salary,
Yeah.
but they'd also get 40% a year in bonuses or whatever. So
Right.
not
Yeah.
really a fair comparison.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. So anyway, everything was roses and wonderful back in the day. So let's say 20, 30-ish ago. That's because, so we both got the viewpoint of being on the JET program. But even if you weren't on the JET program, what were things that have changed a lot for you since first arriving?
For me, smoking. Not
Oh,
personally, although I did stop smoking in 2004, I think, for about 4 years after I got here. I stopped smoking. But smoking spaces, especially in Sendai, have disappeared. There's basically nowhere to smoke anymore. When I got here, teachers smoked in schools, people smoked in hospitals, any train was smoking. It was nuts, and it changed first very slowly and then really quickly. And I think the biggest factor was Starbucks.
oh,
Because
okay.
Starbucks came in, and Starbucks from the start was non-smoking, and everyone was like, "You can't have a cafe that's non-smoking. No one will go there." And of course, all the young people who didn't smoke and didn't like smoke went to Starbucks, and they did really well. And so all the other shops started copying that.
Right.
But even now, like for me, going to Tokyo, I'm like, why is everyone smoking? Like, it's very noticeable. There's a lot more smoking in Tokyo, and then you go to Kansai, and it's even more. So I think it is marginal at the moment, but Sendai especially is very, very limited in terms of smoking.
Yeah. That's true. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, that's the biggest. And then of course the internet, because Amazon and being able to call people. Like, do you remember we used to have to buy like phone cards to be able to call abroad?
I think I've still got some actually. Yeah, and bus cards as well. A little sort of slide it in bus cards.
Yeah.
Credit cards as well. When we came over,
Yes.
it
was all
often
cash,
hard.
wasn't it?
Yeah, I was in actually quite a rural place, but yeah, it was hard to find somewhere that accepted credit cards, which felt kind of weird. There were several things that I thought at the time, and this is really sort of naive and maybe even offensive of me, but I thought, wow, this thing. There are so many sort of so-called backward things coming from my privileged Western background, coming to Japan. Why don't they do it like this? Like, that's so like behind the times. So the credit cards is one of them, and then a couple of others I can think of as well is overuse of plastic. So we were already kind of aware, I think, in the West of the eco sort of movement, and we would come here and see like so many layers of plastic around a little candy or biscuit or something. It's taken a long time to get better, but I think it is gradually getting better. And another thing is top-loading washing machines with cold water.
Oh, okay.
I was like, why load from the top? We used to do that in the 1960s, I think. And why cold water only? It was not going to get cleaned properly. And still, I think, like, I don't know, maybe it's good enough, but it still feels weird to me that it's not like
for me. And it's still a thing, although it's less important now because we don't use cash as much. But the ATM thing, the fact that ATMs closed.
Closed, yeah.
This is before they were in konbinis, because konbinis made a huge difference, right? And I think there's kind of two reasons for that. One is that they wanted them to be supervised.
Okay.
I think, and the other is that someone needs to be there to support them. The support staff presumably stopped working at 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock or whatever.
Right.
So when Ba-chan couldn't figure the machine out, she'd pick up the phone and a human would answer. So.
Right. Yeah, that's true. On the other hand, so I don't want to make it sound like I'm sort of criticizing Japan too much, because there were other things where like, wow, Japan is so far ahead of my home country. And one thing was, at that time, Docomo was out, and people would use their mobile phone to like, order tickets or something, which was way before mobile internet was really a thing. And I thought, wow, that's so cool. It was still, from our viewpoint today, a kind of clunky small screen, but still the stuff you could do with it was incredible. And then things like the Suica, Pasmo tickets, even using your phone to go through the train stations. I think other countries are still sort of catching up with that. And I have to say, the toilets as well.
Oh god! Like actually, this trip, it's not just although toilets are the big one, but it's everything to do with bathrooms.
Oh,
like I've been going around hotels in the UK and then here in Spain now, and the bathrooms are just terrible. It's really badly designed. The showers are poor. They got poor water pressure, like badly designed. They often look fancy. I find this in the UK especially. People have like very fancy looking showers that don't work very well. And then the bath is set up so that everything gets wet, even though it's not designed to.
Yes.
So it's just coming from Japan, which I think has mastered bathing. It's really frustrating.
Yeah. James from Bennett in the chat says use of fax machines. Yes, that was still a thing. Floppy disk was still a thing. And in the city hall where we worked, there was one computer in the corner which was connected to the internet, and everybody else for their work would use Wapro, which looked like a really thick, chunky laptop computer, and it opened up like one, had a keyboard, but it wasn't really like a sort of general computer system. It wasn't connected to the internet. It was purely for word processing. It was
a word processing machine, wasn't it, basically?
Yeah, like a typewriter with a brain kind of thing. Its own, as Japan loves to do, its own, specialist Japan-only system, which sadly died out like so many things.
Definitely. Can we let's go back to this question? I think it's quite interesting.
Okay. Right, so to go back to the JET program we were talking about. They're talking about the JET program's been going a long time now. It's over 30 years. I don't know if it's 40, but Matt, it's a few decades. If you were a politician observing the JET program over the decades, how would you rate its success?
Well, I think the main thing here is that JET wasn't ever designed as a teaching thing. It's more of an influence buying thing. And it was also, I think it was also designed to mollify the United States in terms of exports by saying, okay, so we're exporting, or it's kind of like Trump, 20, 30 years ago, it's the same kind of situation with Japan taking over the world and the US not liking that. And the JET program was kind of like, okay, so all right, we export a lot, and now we'll pay ridiculous salaries to some of your young people in exchange. But mainly it's influence buying. So basically, the JET program brings selected young people from other countries to Japan, has them hopefully enjoy living in Japan for 2 or 3 years, learn Japanese, get a feel for the culture, and then go back and go into business and go into politics and go into whatever as friends of Japan. Yeah. And I think that's the main goal for the JET program. I think it's been incredibly successful because I meet all sorts of people doing all sorts of things who are former JETs.
Same here.
I think based on that, very successful. Based on teaching, no, horrible. Absolutely horrible based on teaching.
Yeah, I think part of the purpose as well was this general exposure to foreigners to get people more sort of comfortable with.
Yeah, that's been very successful
the rest
too.
of the world.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. But yeah, English language.
Yeah, especially Sendai, I'd find, because Sendai had a policy of putting a JET in every single junior high school.
Really?
Back in the day when ALTs were rarer. And it was very different being in Sendai and being around, kids and young people in Sendai and going further out into the countryside where people had less, exposure to different looking people. So I think, that part of it worked quite well as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the minor teaching goal, not very good. I mean, we had teaching assistants in school as well from France and Germany, same kind of deal. Young people who were working at the school, but they were used very differently. And I think that's where JET kind of falls down. And the ALT thing in general falls down because it kind of pretends that ALTs are teachers or that they're capable of being teachers. And I think generally they're not because they haven't been trained generally. There are some people who have, teaching experience and so on, but they're very, very few. And everyone else kind of gets kind of delusions of grandeur. Whereas the way my school in England used our, French and German and whatever teaching assistants was as teaching assistants. So they'd come in, they'd work with students in small groups outside the class. They'd use their language abilities to do things, but they wouldn't be teaching or taking classes. And I think Japan didn't do very well in figuring out what jets were useful for.
Yeah, maybe. Possibly also I think those of us that were here might have pushed ourselves forward a bit because we can see the teachers struggling with, or some of us might have sort of looked down on the level of English and thought, come on, I should be teaching this, with my native language, and then, pushing. I don't know. I know
that's the flip side, isn't it?
Let me teach it, please. I'll speak in English. It'll be fine.
Yeah, well, that's the flip side. The fact that some teachers here are not really trained properly and don't have the adequate language skills. So
yeah. Although again, I think that's changing. Speaking of change,
a little bit. But I mean, the stats for Aiken, for example, I think something like 50% of teachers have Aiken 2, which is a high school qualification.
Right.
It's iffy still.
So this is similar to what Alminox says. Japan is so resistant to change that some things are still like back when we arrived. Yes, I think it does take a long time. Having said that, that's good and bad. So some things I look and I see, like somebody said, you arrive. Who was it? Alminox again. The sort of the attitude to customer service and cleanliness. That doesn't seem to have changed. I fly back from a business trip to America or something, get on the bus at the airport, and the person with gloves will bow as the bus moves away. It's like, oh, Japan, I love you. And just general. That sort of standard is still being maintained.
Yeah, like Alminox says, it has completely ruined me. Like I couldn't live anywhere else.
Right.
Having got used to Japanese standards, basically, I think is the standard.
Yeah,
and there's a very much that's not good enough kind of level that people are aware of and stick to. That doesn't exist. You can get great customer service in other countries, but it's that coming from the person, not the system.
Yeah, I think tips might have something to do with that. Right, hate the tipping system, and Japan is pretty well without it. Yeah. Over on LinkedIn, so we've actually got, we can see comments outside of YouTube as well. And on LinkedIn, Marcus Wallace, hello, Marcus, mentions one thing that has changed, izakaya culture. When they arrived in Japan, there was once a week izakaya culture. And now young people are drinking less. Maybe COVID had influence as well, but it's definitely not there. And again, I can say from my son, the work company, the work environment is not, let's go and have drinks after work anymore. He might do with a couple of friends.
That's a huge change. Yeah, the whole alcohol harassment, awareness of this being a problem rather than just normal. And young people being like, I don't want to drink, so I'm not going to go.
yeah,
which is fair enough.
Yes. Oh, and Marcus's battery is running out. Okay. Well, thank you for the comment, Marcus. I'll see you next time. Importing Diversity is a scholarly book detailing the formation of jet. I've not heard of that. You know it, do you?
It's a bit old, but it's very good. Kind of history. Yeah, it's quite hard to get hold of. Like, I don't think it's. Last time I looked for it, you couldn't buy it. You just had to try and find a secondhand copy. So.
Right. Oh,
but very interesting if you're interested in the history of the jet program.
I've got a free money tip for you. I bought a book. Oh, actually, for my back. It's called The Back Mechanic. Comes highly recommended. And it was Ichiman Isen on Amazon Japan, the English book. But go to Amazon US, get it on there, get it sent across, pay for the shipping, and it still works out about 6,000 yen, I think, or something like that. Big savings. So if you're buying books that are no longer in print, especially, or expensive books, definitely worth looking outside. I like Abe books or Abe books, however you pronounce it. abebooks.com, because once you've set your country, you go and search for book you want, and then you can get it listed by price, including cost of posting. So the copy at the top, that's how much you'll pay to get it sent to you in Japan from some secondhand bookshop somewhere in the world. And that's
I used to really like the book depository.
yes.
Did you ever use it? And then
Free
Amazon bought
worldwide
them,
shipping.
right, and shut them
Yeah,
down.
and closed it. Yeah.
Damn
Free
you,
worldwide
Bezos.
shipping. Yeah. Do you think that that's enough grumbling? Well, not grumbling, but pointing out differences?
Well, I think just a quick kind of summary. So I think financially, it's much harder to move to Japan now. Obviously, depending on your role, if you've got if you have a job with a foreign company that lets you work in Japan, you are quids in. That is a fantastic situation to be in. But if you're working in a Japanese job, especially an entry-level position, especially a non-skilled position, then it's pretty miserable now. However, I think everything else is easier, because of the internet, because of smartphones, because of everything, and also the Japanese kind of cultural is at least the space in Japan is converging with the rest of the world. I think it's less unusual. It's less kind of Japanese than it used to be in terms of clothes and food and stuff. It's everything's converged. We're becoming a monoculture, aren't we, on Earth?
I think we've still got a way to go, but I know what you mean. I think in Tokyo, at least,
you can buy cheese now. You couldn't buy cheese.
Oh, right, yes.
Like you know what I mean?
Food stuff was hard to get. Yeah.
In
Tokyo, at least,
else is easier.
Yeah,
But
it changed.
I think it might be harder to meet Japanese people now.
Oh.
Because everything else is easier. Because it's so easy to have a foreign community. It's so easy to keep in touch with people at home, which means you don't necessarily need people here. Like, I think in some ways that's a bit of a loss as well.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I used to get invited to various things because I was the token foreigner in the town.
The only hygiene in the village, right?
Yeah. That was me. And now I'm not unusual anymore. So whatever. I can see that.
Yeah. What would your summary be of the last 20 years?
Yeah, pretty similar. And so I remember getting a taxi. So it's after I did jet, but I was still here down and living in Kyushu. And I got a taxi from going out drinking, and the guy was saying, how long you've been here, blah, blah, blah. And he said, Nihon, sumiyasui desho. And that means Japan, it's easy to live here, right? And at the time I thought, no, I like it here, but no, it's not sumiyasui at all. Sometimes it's a nightmare. And now, 10, 15 years later, it's like, yeah, I think I would call it sumiyasui. And it probably still makes a difference if you're in a city or rural area. But yeah, my perception has changed now of how easy it is to live here. And I could speak Japanese at both points of that, so that's not the factor. I think in Tokyo, at least, the Olympics made a difference. I did notice a change over that year or two preparation for the Olympics, a real sort of positive attitude towards getting things ready for foreigners coming
in. Okay. Yeah, I'd say the same. Like, it does feel easier to live here now, but part of that's because I'm used to it. I've got used to it, and part of it because maybe it's got easier actually, empirically.
Yeah. And
so
looking ahead to the
Japan,
future,
it's great, but make sure you have enough money to live on, and don't come to Japan regardless of the job. Like, that's probably not a good idea.
Looking to the future. Look to the future, Shibafuji Watches says AI is becoming increasingly prevalent in society. Yeah, that's going to make a big difference in making it even easier to live here, I think.
But it could take away a lot of these non-skilled entry-level jobs. So the ALT function, with some imagination, could probably be done by AI now.
Yeah, I think slow-moving education system here is going to take a while for that to happen. In private sectors, definitely.
Excellent. Well, thanks for that trip down memory lane. When I came to Japan, there wasn't even Starbucks.
Yeah.
I think it came
I
in
will
like
say one thing.
2003.
I will say one thing. If you're considering coming over here on a jet or whatever, do have a look at whether it's possible for you to work for a foreign company and work here in the local office or something. Because I've done that. I do that now actually, and exchange rate is very good for you right now, and that makes a huge difference, I think.
And the other thing actually would be come here on holiday first and see what it's like, because it's so cheap now that, you know, coming over for a quick 2-3 week trip is within reach. Like when I came here, Japan seemed so expensive. I thought the only way to come and see it would be to get a job here. So that's a big difference.
Yeah. Right then. Well, thank you everyone for the comments and questions there. So we move on then. You've got here economic nuggets, and you want to talk about opportunity cost and sunk cost fallacy, I think.
This is my favorite concept in economics. It actually informs everything I do every day. I think about it all the time. So if you don't know what opportunity cost is, this might be helpful. So opportunity cost is basically just saying, okay, what else could we do with the money? What else could we do with the time? What else could we do with the attention? And would that be better? So it's the cost of not doing everything else in order to do whatever you're going to do is opportunity cost. And it's so useful. So I learned this in school. I did economics AS level, which is basically, when you're 17, 18, you do A levels and AS levels. And it changed my life in a way, just because I'm always thinking about it, you know, okay, so if I spend this money here, I can't spend it somewhere else. And in terms of personal finance, the biggest opportunity cost is basically not investing for the future. So any discretionary spending where you're spending money on something that isn't necessary, you know, whether that's going out for a dinner, whether that's going on holiday, whether it's buying a nice car that you don't really need, you've got to weigh that against the cost of not investing that money for 40 years. And thinking, you know, does this make enough of a difference where I'm going to not do the discretionary spending, I'll invest it instead, and that will have a bigger effect on my life, kind of thing. And sunk cost is just, you know, once you've paid for something, that's it. You're not getting the money back, so there's no point in worrying about it. So a bit like me. So we're going to talk about Metaplanet later. But Metaplanet is finished for me, and there's no point in thinking about what might have been. So,
right, yeah, I like both those. My boss at work is, I would say, he is obsessed actually with mental models, and he actually wrote a book about mental models, and he refers to those two quite a lot at work. Okay, we spent this long on this thing. It looks like it's not going anywhere, but we've spent so much time on it. Like, doesn't matter. Pretend it never happened. It's in the past. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And opportunity cost, that came up the other day, actually. I was going to buy some more boxes of Pokemon cards. It's guaranteed to go up, I'm telling you. But then I thought,
it's a sure thing.
If I put it towards, it's not going to do anything. It'll be there in a cupboard for 10, 20 years. Maybe, you know, an increase in value, maybe it will. But if I, you know, save that money and put it into shares or something, I'll be getting a dividend because I like my dividends, and I can reinvest that, and it's more liquid. So, the opportunity of having that money there is, I can't do anything with that money once I've got it stored in a cupboard or something. So, is that relevant? That's still opportunity cost, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Spend on
it's
that,
basically, thinking about the alternatives.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Russell in the chat says their favorite is the broken window fallacy. I am not familiar with that. Oh, is that the one where you can tell the sort of the socioeconomic status of an area by the broken windows or something? Or if you allow broken windows to remain broken, then everything else will generally get worse as well. So it seems like a minor thing, but you should fix it to stop the major things happening. I could be wrong.
I just had to look this up. So I think it's the opposite, actually.
So,
fixing broken stuff doesn't lead to economic gain, so it's not worth doing. Maybe it's kind of counterintuitive.
Okay,
Because
apologies.
there's the
Russell,
opposite
we're not
argument,
Russell.
isn't it? Like, there's a police one that's like that, isn't it? Like, where you focus on minor crimes, and by stopping minor crimes, it trickles upwards or something.
Right. Yeah,
that's in New York, right?
Tried it. Yeah. I thought that's what it meant, but maybe. Okay, I'm going to have to look that up. Maybe we'll come back to that in the next episode when we've learned a bit more.
Economic principles.
Yeah. Sounds good. Right. So I have a thing on the agenda then. I need. Hang on, folks. It's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. I promise it really is going to be worth it. Here we go. Right, I have a shameful spending story, and I succumbed to these sort of clever tactics. I follow I subscribe to a free marketing newsletter, but I can't remember what it's called now, but it's very good. And I've actually written back to the guy and said, I really like your newsletter. Keep it up. It's about marketing, and once a week he'll send a sort of marketing tip, and it's really good. It's not sort of like scammy stuff. It's often it's sort of like behavioral kind of stuff. And what I do like is he'll put the summary of the tip right at the top, so you don't have to scroll through the sponsored bit and all that stuff, or wait till you get to the end. It's just the summary is like, do this, or increased clicks or whatever, and then he'll write about the details. So if I don't have time, I can just do the top bit, move on. It's useful. It's the perfect newsletter. And then the other day he said, okay, over the next 24 hours, I am accepting super discounted subscriptions. And it was, I think, $100 for a year's subscription. It's never going to be this low again. It's 55% off what I'm charged when I open it to everybody else after 24 hours. And I'm already getting the newsletter for free. Okay, so it says, but I'm going to have premium stuff for subscribers and a special surprise for you, once you subscribe. So I did. I'm happy to support the guy. I think it's just a one-person thing. And I do like the newsletter, I get value from it. So anyway, I did it. And the free thing was an ebook. It was 50, 60 page proper ebook, again, full of valuable information. So, clearly very good. But the emails, are still coming. And apart from that, I'm not really seeing how I'm going to get $100 a year value out of this. And I'm not thinking, if I had coolly just, sat back and thought about it without that 24-hour time pressure and you're going to get this, it's never going to be this low again, I don't think I would have bought it. And I can sort of tell that because I also got my company paid for this, but a subscription to Nikkei Asia, online, like the Financial Times equivalent over here. And it's really good. And I read that nearly every day. And already I'm getting much more value from Nikkei Asia, which I now read every day, than I do from the newsletter, which I'm using just about as much as I did before I even paid to be a subscriber. So, yeah. I took several weeks to decide, do I want to subscribe to Nikkei Asia or not? And I took a few minutes to decide whether I want to subscribe to this urgent, great deal. And I'm kind of regretting it now. Okay. That is my full spending story.
Yeah, time pressure is huge for sales. I read Alex Hormozi's books, and he's very construct the offer and put time pressure and overcome kind of objections and stuff. So
and sounds that was that. Yes, it was that, and it's never going to be this low again. Those two things.
The fear of missing out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there you go. I don't know if that's a lesson for anybody, but that's my shameful spending story. And now, let's move on to other things. We have a list of news and other topics. I don't know if you're in your hotel room on your phone, if you can see the agenda we've got, but the first thing I put on there is Fukuoka woman arrested for drunk bicycle riding. Yes, it's nothing to do with retiring and finance and stuff, but I think it's relevant for
life in Japan.
non-Japanese people living
Absolutely.
here, yeah, who might not fully realize the rules over here. Put a link to the news story in the chat.
That's not new in the slightest, though, because we got warned not to do that when we came on Jet 26 years ago. So,
Right.
yeah, in Japan, a bicycle is a vehicle, so it's
Yeah.
governed by the same rules as other vehicles, including cars and light motorcycles and stuff. And therefore, if you're drunk and operating a vehicle, then you're committing quite a serious offense in Japan.
Right.
For us as public servants, we would have lost our jobs potentially, and it's newsworthy for public servants to be doing stuff like that. So, yeah, it would have been a big deal. So,
Right.
it's quite rare. I don't think the police are out breathalyzing cyclists.
No.
You
So I
have
know
to do
this
something
is
fairly spectacular in order to be noticed.
well, which leads me on to this. So I know the law itself is not new, but this is kind of unusual case here. So a lady in Fukuoka at 10:30 p.m. Well, earlier in the day had been out for quite a few drinks, I think, and was spotted by an officer in a police car because she was riding her bike while being sick at the same time. Okay, that's pretty unusual. He was worried about it. He thought she might be ill. So he checked up on her, "You okay?" Blah, blah, blah. And her reaction was then to try and run away quickly or cycle away quickly from the policeman who was asking if she was okay. But she was pretty drunk and had just been sick. And so I think she struggled to cycle away in a straight line very quickly. The police managed to catch her and gave her an alcohol test. She was 4 times over the legal limit. I thought the legal limit was 0, so I might misunderstood that.
It's not quite 0, but yeah, it's low.
Okay.
It's much lower than the UK. Like, apparently, I think in the UK you could drink a pint and be okay. In Japan, you couldn't.
Oh, okay.
It's much less.
So at first she said, no, I haven't been drinking. But when she sobered up, she confessed, yeah, maybe I had a little bit. And anyway, she was arrested. She was arrested on the spot. I thought you'd just get a ticket or something. Maybe it depends on the level of alcohol. I don't know. But in this case, they arrested her, took her away. I'm not sure if she was actually imprisoned, but you could be. There is potentially a prison sentence of up to 5 years and potentially a fine of up to 1 million yen, about $7,000-ish US dollars. So
it's a serious offense. So it's very much like, don't get caught for that. I think the only way you're going to get caught is if you hit someone, or you otherwise have an accident, or you throw up while riding in front of a police car.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't drink a lot and ride a bicycle. It's kind of stupid as well. Just leave it and come back the next day.
Yeah. I hear the public transport system is pretty good over here. Oh, maybe actually rural areas. Oh no, in fact, that's one thing that's changing. Bus, I think pretty much everywhere, but here I've noticed the bus routes are really dropping. The number per either route themselves or the number of buses per hour, if that, is dropping because not enough drivers. Yeah, it's incredible. So maybe that's why she was riding the bike.
I doubt it.
Moving on to something
about bike laws. So, well, first thing, this bike helmet law. It's a law, but it's not like basically it's a law that says please endeavor to wear a helmet. Please make an effort to wear a helmet. Yeah, there's no punishment. There's no actual duty to wear a helmet. The duty is to try to wear a helmet. So this is kind of not a thing at the moment.
Right. Alminox is asking if they've seen any enforcement of that. I kind of have. I know somebody who works at the local park, which is run by the city hall, cycles there and just started recently. And then after a few days, people at the catch or whatever at the park noticed, you're not wearing your cycle helmet when you cycle to work. No.
Ooh, okay.
We have a policy here. You are now a public servant. You will wear your cycling helmet if you cycle to work.
School kids as well. One of my students is a high school student, and he used to cycle to our lesson, and he stopped. And I was like, "Why are you not riding your bike anymore?" He's like, "Oh, my school makes us wear a helmet, and I don't want to. So I don't cycle anymore." So that's a real counter. That's an unintended consequence, and it's a negative consequence, I think. So
Yeah.
that's the main argument against cycle helmet laws,
Right.
in that possibly the cycle helmets don't actually help that much in terms of accidents. And B, if they discourage you from cycling, that's going to have negative health effects, if you end up driving instead or whatever. So.
Yeah, on the flip side, people could argue that the health effects of not having a serious injury because you're wearing, or having a less serious injury because you're wearing a helmet outweighs that.
I think it depends on the population, because like the number of accidents where a helmet makes a difference is tiny. Because either you're getting hit by a car at speed, in which case the helmet makes no difference whatsoever, or it's such a minor accident that the helmet doesn't make any difference either. So
yeah.
And then across the population as a whole, if you're discouraging exercise and cycling.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Yeah, I quite like it being optional personally. I mean, I do wear a helmet myself, but I can see the arguments.
Yeah. Full Conclusion points out that the rules are just changing, or going to change from next April. It was in the Japan Times today. I haven't seen that. Insurance now for kids as well as parents will be held responsible. Yeah, I think insurance is pretty much like a given now, isn't it? Like you'd be crazy not to have insurance.
I think
cycling.
Something
We're
like
talking about bicycles, not motorbikes, by the way.
Yeah. So I think 47 prefectures have laws that say you have to have insurance if you cycle.
Right.
And the other 3, I'm sure, will catch up. So what that means is if you have an accident and you don't have insurance, you'll be in more trouble than if you,
Right. So what else? Something a bit more practical actually is the Japan. I think you posted this in the blog. Japan Real Estate Summit have posted their videos from the last one, and it was only a couple of months ago, I think. But always good to watch. You learn a lot from watching those. I think they do sometimes tend to repeat the topics because of new people coming to Japan. But there we go. Put the link in the comments if you are interested in anything to do with real estate, whether it's finding a place to live, something for investment. It's good checking out the videos there. That was a quick one. Let's move on. And pension reforms. So this is something that's continuing, but has something changed again here?
I've been following this, but I haven't seen. So basically, the big one is that I think the government has now decided that they can use Kosei Nenkin money to prop up Kokumin Nenkin, which lots of people didn't like. They're like, okay, if we're paying Kosei Nenkin, why is it being used for other purposes and stuff like that? And then there's various things about looking at future pension payouts and seeing if they're viable and so on. Nothing major, basically, as in almost all countries that have pension systems, like pension ages are probably going to go up. Pension payouts may come down. It's basically trying to keep the system viable. And the system's less viable because there's fewer and fewer people supporting more and more pensioners. So make sure that you're not depending on the kindness of bureaucrats.
Yeah. One country, what is it now? It was Finland, possibly, or maybe Denmark. They raised their retirement age to 70. I think I remember reading, and I think that's just going to spread to other countries as well.
Well, I mean, when retirement age was decided, I think the average lifespan was like 57.
Right. Yeah.
So
I think that's one thing that's changed in the last few
didn't
decades.
live that long, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Now that we're somewhat likely to live to 100.
Yeah.
It doesn't really work anymore, does it?
Now, in that same bill or a related bill, I think I read they're removing the 1.06 million yen limit
they're
for paying
expanding
into pension.
Yes.
Are you able to explain that a bit?
So I think right now there's the people that work part-time are not in Kosei Ninkin, right?
Right.
And people that work at small companies and so on. And I think that's going to get cut down a lot. So that pretty much everyone is going to be in Kosei Ninkin, and not just being responsible for paying kokumin on their own. Because Kosei Ninkin, half of it's paid by the employer, and the employer is responsible for enrolling you. So I think by doing that, they're going to make sure that more people are covered by the pension. Whereas at the moment, if you were a part-time worker, you could, forget to pay your kokumin nenkin, and you probably wouldn't get chased up at the moment.
Yes.
But then you wouldn't get a pension either. So, that's the long-term consequence that people are maybe not thinking about.
Yes. One of the disadvantages of the old way I saw it mentioned was that people would work fewer part-time hours because they didn't want to go over that level. So yeah, that's going to disappear. Thank you, Elmnox, for correcting me. It was Denmark, and the official retirement age is going to be 71. Wow, thank you. And Foregone Conclusion has mentioned it was Asahi News talking about the bicycle law changes. So there is a link going into the chats. And yes, it's going to be fines for bicycle violations.
Tickets.
From April the 1st next year.
They're making it easier to issue small fines for bicycle violence, because right now the fines are quite big, and it's a hassle paperwork-wise for the police. Whereas in the future, once this goes through, it'll be quite easy to hand out kind of instant, on-the-spot fines. So hopefully they'll do that, because as a cyclist myself, like I do find it very annoying to watch other cyclists be reckless and completely ignore traffic laws.
Yes, traffic lights.
I would like to see more. Yeah, a bit more enforcement.
Just to sum up this, there's going to be a red pill and the blue pill. Oh, no, red ticket and the blue ticket. And the red ticket is for serious stuff like obstructive cycling, tailgating, and you'll be issued a traffic ticket, which I guess is the more sort of, drunk cycling as well as in that one. And I guess that's the more sort of complex one. And then the quick, here's a ticket, pay some money thing, the blue ticket will include, so 12,000 yen for distracted driving while holding a smartphone or other devices, 6,000 yen for traveling the wrong way or riding on the sidewalk, the pavement, and 3,000 yen for 2 or more bikes riding side by side or riding with 2 people on a bicycle. 3,000 yen for 2 bikes riding side by side. I guess they're going to take it on a case by case basis, and it's for
you'd have to go out of your way to get fined, I think, for this.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, riding side by side, it's dangerous and annoying for other road users.
Right.
Is the thinking, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, what else do we have then? Let's move along. Crackdown on health insurance and pension. Oh, did we cover that last time, or do you want to talk a bit more about that?
I don't know. So this is basically just we've talked about it quite a long time ago, I think. So the recent ones, the numbers are really strange. Like they're saying 60% of foreign residents pay into social programs. I'm like, how is that possible?
So 40% are not paying.
So yeah, if that's true, then yes, it seems justified to make all this fuss about it. But I just don't see how that's possible, because most people are paying in through their work, right? So if they're not paying in through their work, then either they're students or they're not working and living in Japan. There's a lot of talk about the people abusing the entrepreneur visa in order to just get residence and get access to healthcare, for example.
Yeah.
So that's a big political thing ahead of the elections, where people are like, let's distract the populace by talking about foreigners.
Yeah. It's kind of related to the driving license thing as well.
It's basically all about enforcing current rules. So I don't really have a problem with it personally. The one thing I didn't like is the proposal to make people pay like a year in advance when they first get here. Into health insurance. So presumably because people have been, so when you get here, you'd pay 12 months of health insurance immediately. like
Wow.
in advance, which seems a bit unfair. Like as a newly arriving language teacher, that would have been pretty rough for me.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Didn't know that. And in
I
a
guess
similar
if you have
vein,
a job, it might be different, because
yeah.
if you have a job, your employer does it, right? So
Hmm.
it might just be for kokumin kenko hoken, possibly.
Yeah. Yep. I have not seen that one. But also, that's just a proposal. We don't know if that's actually going to happen or not. Similarly, tourists are coming over here and getting a Japanese driving license far too easily, apparently.
Yeah, that
Now,
surprised
it
me.
is.
So basically, one of the police chiefs said that they shouldn't be able to do that, and I completely agree. Why would a tourist be able to get a driving license here?
Mhm, mhm.
That's madness.
Yes.
So yeah, that I don't have a problem with that either. So yeah, if you're a resident, then yes, you should be able to get a license. But just to show up on a tourist visa for 3 weeks and it's not get a license; it's convert your existing license into a Japanese one.
Yeah.
And yeah, that seems very much against the spirit of the thing, even if it's legally possible.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. When I did it, actually, this was down in Kyushu again, 20-ish years ago. And I went into the sort of the driving office school thing. And I sort of researched in advance. I don't need to retake the test. I just take my English license. I think maybe I needed an international license as well. I can't remember. And then basically it's just a conversion thing. And so I went in and I think I was wearing a suit, all smart. And it was all fine. The people, they'd not done it before. A foreigner coming into the office, this is really weird. What's going on? And they're going through all these shelves, the filing cabinets and stuff like Rule 34A, 17B and stuff like this. So, yeah, looks like we can do it. And so they did it. It was really, really quick. But they were uncomfortable with it being so easy. And so the manager came over and he said, okay, it looks like everything's in order. Just ask them a few more questions. And so we sat there just, chatting with me for a little while. And then after 5 or 10 minutes said, yeah, I think that's good. There's your driving license. It was really like, we just want to feel good about you and then it'll be okay. I understand. Some people might be frustrated. I thought it was just quite amusing. So yeah, I got my license that way.
You didn't have to do a paper test?
No.
I think I did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really easy. It was like, if the traffic lights amber, what do you do? Like speed up.
Yeah.
Is that a multiple choice test? But I think there was a paper test. I didn't have to do the practical one because the British license is similar enough, presumably.
Yes. Yeah. By the way, Daniel Crane says we should have, if you're going to have new cycling fines, we should have more cycling lanes. Yes, totally agree. I want to talk about rice prices just very quickly. Obviously very high at the moment. And I think officially they're going down slightly, 20 yen on past month or something like that. But I don't know if people have seen, but the government has been releasing more and more of this old rice, the stockpiled rice. Have you seen what they're calling it? They call it furui.
Old rice. Yeah.
Komai. And this one's from a couple of years earlier, so we'll stick some more furui kanji. So yeah, koko mai or something. It's really silly. It doesn't make it sound really delicious, does it? Old rice. But it's been really interesting to see Koizumi, so the son of former Prime Minister Koizumi. He was put in charge after the previous minister made a terrible mistake by saying, yeah, I've never actually bought a bag of rice, so I don't know.
People just give it to me.
Yeah.
Why doesn't everyone just eat the rice they're given?
Yeah, what are people complaining about?
It's a real Marie Antoinette one, right? Let them eat cake. Of course they could eat cake.
It was bad. So anyway, Koizumi was put in charge of this. I think it's his first ministerial position. Clearly, he is on that track to prime minister. And I think he sees this as right. This is the chance. I make a good job of this, and this is it for me. And so he's been working very hard, appearing on different TV shows. I think. So he says he's releasing loads more rice, and it's not being put up for auction like it was the first time round. It's going direct to big retailers, and therefore the price will be exactly what he says the price will be, which is 2,000, is it 160, something like that, for 5 kilos, as opposed to about 5,000 yen in the shops right now. But I think the big challenge for him is that a lot of it is sort of psychological, just like the stock market. If people think something's going to go up, then it will go up even more. And so if people think the price is going to continue going up, they'll stockpile more. It'll push the price up higher. So if he can convince people that that's it, it's not going to go up anymore, then they will stop stockpiling it, and then it will go down. It's like sort of self-fulfilling prophecy, I think. So I think that's his game. He's done the sort of the financial logistics stuff, and now it's encouraging people to actually believe that this is working. And I think it is. I don't know, I just found it very, very fascinating to see. On the one hand, we've got this guy's political ambitions, which I think is going to be important for the future prime minister. And we've got the sort of the financial thing, and we've got a bit of behavioral economics going on as well. I'm just finding it really interesting.
It's a bit like the toilet paper buying, right? Like,
yes.
When there's no toilet paper, so as soon as you release any toilet paper, everyone buys it, and therefore you can't have a normal toilet paper market until you've flooded it somehow. So I really don't like Koizumi. I can't stand this whole nepotism stuff they have going on here, especially in that family.
right.
So
I like the sort of I like looking at sort of the strategy behind it, sort of analyzing him when he's on. It's like, oh, this is what he's planning. I find that stuff interesting anyway. So seeing
he was environmental minister, wasn't he? Before?
Oh, you're right. Yes, he was. But this one, is clearly in the spotlight for a very hot topic right now. For conclusion, that's a good
let's
point.
hope he screws it up, and that's the end of the Koizumis.
Possibly. I think Japan could do with cheaper rice right now, though. First of all, But for conclusion, that's a good point. How long can the government maintain enforced price control? So I think this is it. It's almost like a game theory, I think, where he's saying we've got all the stockpiles you need. We can just release rice forever. Obviously, they can't. And they're not going to reveal how much is their sort of limit, but he needs to make people think.
I mean, the obvious rebuttal there is, okay, well, why don't you? Why don't you release it all? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know, it's really interesting. Anyway, so I personally, we actually managed to get some. It was really hard. I was looking out for some of this the stockpiled rice when it came out, and people were queuing up at 8 o'clock in the morning. Not me, but I saw on the news people were queuing up for hours before shops opened to get it. We managed to get it from Iris Oyama online, and they had the Chusen as a lottery system. Put our name in the lottery, and they sent an email saying, "Oh, bad luck, you missed out, didn't make it." And then the following day, they sent another email saying, "Yeah, we kind of messed up with the system. Things didn't go well. We're doing it again." And then we did get. No, we didn't get the first round, but we did get the second round. Anyway, it's going to be delivered this week sometime. So
you haven't
I think
had it
might still be possible. No.
So in the next RetireJapan TV, you have to tell us what it's like to eat the old rice or whatever it was.
Okay. I probably won't be able to tell, but I have a expert here in the house who will. So, if we could buy it from the farm co-op, that would be cool. But I think it might still be possible. But if you can't get it in, if you can't get it in supermarkets, Iris Oyama may still have it, and Rakuten, I think, did have quite a lot as well.
Always amuses me when people do stuff like that, like queue for 3 hours to buy some slightly cheaper rice or whatever. Or like drive across town to buy petrol that's 3 yen cheaper or a liter or whatever. Like it always it's opportunity cost, right? So it's like, okay, why is this 2 hours not worth anything to you? Or is the extra cost of driving across town not actually more than the petrol you saved? Like I get the feeling people don't actually think about this stuff. Maybe.
Yeah. Or maybe they genuinely, don't mind and they don't have other stuff to do. But yeah, for a lot of people, I think it would be maybe a misalignment, misallocation
resources.
Yeah.
What's your time worth, right? Do you know what your time's worth? Is the question, right?
Side note, I think you might agree, but Your Money or Your Life, the book, Your Money or Your Life, excellent personal finance book. And that taught me how to sort of think about my time in terms of value to me based on not just what you're earning, but what you think you might spend and stuff like that. And when I now look at a pair of trousers or something, that would cost 3 hours of work. Is it worth me working for 3 hours to get a pair of trousers? You think about things differently based on that.
Yeah, there's like two or three chapters on that topic alone, right?
Yeah.
In Your Money or Your Life. Like really, really, really good.
We have some good comments, actually. Hang on, I'm just putting the name of that book in there. I don't have a link to hand, but we mention it quite a lot. Russell says they'll be mixing brown rice with white rice in order to make it last longer. It's a good idea. Another thing that we do is we mix a bit of mugi wheat. It's kind of like bulgur wheat in with the rice. So it almost looks like wheat. You need a little bit more water for it, but not much. So you would have like 20% or something. And it's really nice. It gives the rice a bit more sort of texture to it. We love it. What else do we have? Russell also made the mistake of buying Australian rice. Oh, your wife was not happy. I have not tried Australian rice. I didn't know that was a thing. Okay, then. We still have a couple of things on the agenda, I think. So I don't think this affects you if you're not if you're not naturalized. If you're just a resident here, you'll be unable to vote. But then wait a minute, voting has nothing to do with the cash handouts that the ruling party is considering giving to people. How silly of me to combine those two things. Of course, it's unrelated. The ruling party
has residents, though, right?
Yeah. But I think
so
they're probably not thinking about that. Yeah, so I think residents would get this. They're thinking of giving, quote, a few tens of thousands of yen to people just to help with the rise in inflation, which just happens to be before an election is coming up. Yeah, it's not a done deal, I don't think. So it may or may not happen. It's a coincidence, but yeah, look out for it. It may happen that we'll all be getting a small mini windfall.
These things are not very popular, though. Like the polls recently have been like, people don't like these cash handouts because obviously it's coming from your taxes. So you know what I mean? I guess if they were targeted at low income people or families, that might be okay. But if it's a thing,
there was many years ago, when we were really stuck in the sort of deflationary era, there was a similar thing. It wasn't cash handouts, though. It was vouchers to use in your sort of local area. And my wife's dad actually sort of helped with the system, the local system there, where they give out this, and I can't remember what the name of it was now, but it was kind of vouchers or coupons, and you could only use it in shops within your town or something. So it was basically a cash handout, but you got to use it for the local economy. I don't think it actually worked, but
the problem with those is that the costs of actually doing it is enormous.
Administration. Right. Yeah.
So you're losing most of the money that way, which is why apparently tax cuts are more efficient because it's easy to implement and there's no kind of cost involved. But people don't really notice them. So,
if
your taxes are slightly less this year, you don't actually notice, right? Because you just pay a few hundred yen less a month or whatever.
Yeah. And one other thing on the news, this is something that you said in your Monday read, and it is enough. It's a feeling, not a number. I'll put the link in the chat here. This is from, I think you might have shared from this blog before. The blog itself is called Simple Living in Somerset, back in the UK, but it's relevant for everybody. And it's talking about retirement and the number that you need to be financially independent. And normally you would calculate it based on a percentage. So if I have this much money, I would live on sort of 4% of that a year without that money actually going down, assuming you're, or with the money going down at a rate such that I would never run out. So that's sort of using mathematics to calculate it. But this blog post is arguing that maybe that's not like exactly, that's a sort of a cold way of looking at it, but your actual number for you to feel like you've got enough could be different. And this actually kind of happened to me, which is why I want to mention it. I left my job, is it 3-ish years ago now, because I thought I'd hit my number. I thought, wow, don't need to work again. I had to say at the time, I had some startup shares which had gone up. I had some cryptocurrency which had gone up, and everything was looking rosy. Not quite the same situation right now. Anyway, so I did, and I'm very, very fortunate. I think a lot of us in the position here. Okay, if it all goes terribly wrong, I can fall back on English teaching in Japan. It may not be what I want to do, but rather than starve, I can do that and have enough money to survive. So there's always that kind of like sort of safety net there. Yeah, and it turns out that the money went down a bit faster than I thought, plus the value of the assets that I thought I had went down as well. And I ended up going back to work for the same company that I was with initially, which I really like the people there and I enjoy the job. So I was quite happy to do that. And then I realized, yeah, my number is actually not what I originally thought it was. It's not about having enough money just to, like, you know, technically I can get by on this. I want to enjoy the things that I enjoyed before. And yeah, maybe I'm a bit more extravagant than I thought I was.
Yeah, there's also a big psychological thing, which is not having any income is really scary. Even if you've got the number, even if you logically understand that everything's fine, not having income is absolutely terrifying, especially if you've been kind of saving for a long time. Suddenly making that switch to spending is really hard. It's really, really hard.
Yes.
And I think we should be aware of that before, you know, retiring or quitting their job or whatever. Just be aware that that's going to be a psychological thing that you're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, I noticed that in particular with sudden big expenses, like something bad with the car. We need to buy a replacement car or something. It's like, and normally you say, okay, I'm getting my salary, you know, in a couple of weeks' time, and then I can get this, and, you know, that's how we'll cover it. But when you don't have that, it's sudden big expense, like, okay, that's a chunk more gone. And
that's 2 years of spending down the drain.
Where's the top up going to come from? Yeah. So, yeah, I really resonated. The number, it's not necessarily what I thought the number was. It's not just a mathematical thing. It's, yeah, a lot of it is about feeling and psychology as well. All right. Those are all things I had for the news and hot topics. Next, we're going on to, I haven't got a theme tune out for this, but investment confessional.
Oh, yes.
I want sort of like church music or something.
Yeah, that would be good, actually. Some kind of organ kind of, yeah.
I'll see what
next time, maybe.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about Metaplanet. So I don't know if anyone's heard of Metaplanet. It's basically the Japanese version of, what's the US one? MicroStrategy. So it's basically a company that decided that its function from now on is going to be to accumulate Bitcoin, basically, and act as a kind of Bitcoin proxy. So MicroStrategy has been doing that in Japan for the last year and a bit, I think. So it was there was quite a big kind of splash last year, and I bought some on a whim. So I bought a few hundred shares, I think. And then it's gone up a lot since then. So I sold some when it doubled, and I sold some when it tripled, and I had a few left. And then this last month, I sold the last of it, and made a huge amount of money for basically being really lucky. So it's not a repeatable process. It's not something that I could do again today. I just kind of bought some shares on a whim and got lucky. So don't intend to buy it again now that I'm sold out. It's gone up even more since I sold it. So, but I don't. Fortunately, I'm wired so that doesn't bother me because it's finished. There's nothing I can do about it. So. I don't care that, you know, if I'd held until today and sold it all now, I would have made 5 times as much money. But it doesn't matter. So.
Yeah, there was another company on the news. I've forgot the name of it now. It's 4 letters, and they did a similar thing. They announced, maybe it was a clothing company or something. They announced they're going to have a big chunk of their capital in Bitcoin, and yep, sure enough, the shares shot up because of that.
Yeah, I think with what's it called? God, I'm getting with Metaplanet. They're trading at a they're trading above the Bitcoin price at the moment.
Oh,
So the shares of Metaplanet are worth more than the Bitcoin they own.
wow.
So they're
Because it's
trading at
easier
premium.
because it's easy to buy and sell.
It seems like a bad time to get into that if you were thinking of doing that.
Yeah, I wouldn't personally. Sen says, you don't have diamond hands, Ben. Nope. Diamond hands is a term that means you never sell. You hold. You know, I think there's a time for that.
I don't think this is a good investment. So I'm just glad that I made some money on my stupid little meme stock thing. But it could well have, I could have lost all that money equally, possibly. So
yeah, AI and synergy. Yeah, that's what we need. Bitcoin AI synergy. Yeah, more buzzwords.
Yeah. Then you multiply the multipliers, right? So
yeah,
definitely.
Well, that's your confessional, and because you've sold it all, we will forgive you. So you can sleep well tonight.
Paid for this trip though.
Oh wow, nice! Look at you. Wow.
Because leaving Japan is so expensive at the moment.
Oh yes, right, yeah. Okay, moving on. You wanted to have a new section of media. You want to talk about some media films?
Yeah.
Videos.
Yeah. Stuff I've been watching, I guess.
Yeah. So you put The Godfather of Harlem and Parker, books versus the film. I don't know.
Yeah, so Godfather of Harlem, it's a fun little thing. I think it's on Disney Plus, so I've been watching that. It's good. It's got the guy from Ghost Dog in it. So he's really good. And Parker is it's a really famous book series apparently. So I've been working my way through those this year. Kind of short, pulpy, noir type crime books.
Yeah.
And then Jason Statham made a film that I think he was hoping was going to turn into a series of films, but sadly didn't. And I think the books are better, actually.
Any of those? Not very well read or well viewed to compare to you on that, I think. But I do have some
got more free time.
Right. Yeah. I do have a bit of media I wanted to share, though. I think this might have been from you as well. This is a factual short video. What is it like to start a business in Japan as a foreigner? And this is a sort of collection of little interview clips with a few people who are founders or CEOs of small businesses in Japan. And it's very, very good. There's one person in particular who's very sort of frank about the positives and the negatives. If you're thinking of starting a business or coming over here to start a business, then definitely look at that. And obviously it doesn't cover everything, but it's some very sort of frank and open insights into what it's like. And it's sadly a lot harder than I had realized. Still.
Yeah, a lot of the paperwork seems to be more difficult than it maybe should be, like around bank accounts and things.
Still, yeah. At this point, then, do we have any questions? I think,
yeah, we could go back and scoop up questions for the rest of the thing.
Okay, it's not too many, but for conclusion, what were your biggest mistakes in investing looking back? I suppose going back to the theme of thinking back to earlier times, what were the biggest mistakes in investing?
Oh, everything. Mainly thinking I was cleverer than I am. So everyone forever has said, look, just invest in index funds, just buy the World Index Fund or the US Index Fund, put all your money in that and don't do anything else. And of course, your first reaction is, well, there's got to be a slightly better way than this. And clearly I am just the intelligent person to figure it out. So, you try everything else and then you come full circle and you're like, oh, okay, so I would have made more money just buying index funds. So I'll just do that from now on. So
right.
Yeah, those are my big ones. So investing in a friend's startup, really bad idea.
Yeah.
Lost all my money, lost a friend as well. Investing in a hedge fund because it seemed, exclusive and special, and yeah, lost a huge amount of money. Not because I lost money, but because of I would have made more money by just buying the index.
Right.
Investing in gold mining stocks, in Russian leveraged funds. That was a really bad idea. Everything. I'm not buying Bitcoin in 2013, but I don't think that was a mistake because based on the information I had, I think it was the right decision, even though
right at the time
it was the wrong outcome, right?
Yes. Yeah. My mistake would be, I think, trying to chase growth without thinking about minimizing the risk. Now my focus has switched to, okay, I think Ben Graham calls it, what does he call it now? Safety margin. So I think about that first now. How can I reduce the risk and then look at sort of growth opportunities alongside that? Whereas previously I would just focus on, I think this one's going to go up. One time I bought a stock because it was mentioned in the Investors Chronicle magazine in the UK, and that's a serious investment magazine, so it's got to be right. No, it was buying British Telecom at the peak, and never got that back. Because it's all about the growth. Oh, it's going to go, it can go up, blah, 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 blah. But no, now I think about how much can it drop. I still think I haven't got to the... I still think I can beat the market. So I haven't got round to your part of the circle where you just got to get index funds. I'm still a bit naive like that.
It's like sort of Buffett and Munger say, right? It's not that they were clever; they were just less stupid or something. It's the soundbite.
Yeah, that's true. We have a question here from Nitish Kumar. Hello. In what ways will my pension support my spouse after retirement?
If you die, I'm not sure it will. I mean, there are like bereavement things, but it's mainly if you die before retirement. I think once you're retired, there isn't a spouse provision because your spouse presumably has their own pension, although it'd be a lot lower if they're not working.
What about not dying, but after retirement? They mentioned this after retirement. I don't think the spouse is affected in any way, is it? You retire, you get your pension, and giving. Actually, yeah. When you split that with your spouse, let's say you're the only one who's got a full pension, you still get charged on that tax because it would be a gift tax, effectively, wouldn't it?
No, not if you use it for household expenses.
Oh, okay, right. Oh, so regular like shopping and stuff as a couple.
Yeah, anything in that way would not be subject to gift tax.
Okay, but if you did give a chunk of it, send it to your partner's bank account, then above the certain limit, that would be then taxed as a gift. Correct?
It depends what they spent it on, I guess.
Oh, right, because it's a bit fuzzy, isn't it, as to whether it's living expenses
Very fuzzy,
or not.
incredibly fuzzy. And the type of money we're talking about with pensions is not going to be on the radar.
Ah, okay.
I mean, if you give your spouse 40 million yen, then the tax office might notice that. But if you give them, 150,000 yen a month, no one's going to care. Especially if they're using it for household expenses, right? Which is presumably they are, if you're
probably, yeah. 123 Schlepp. Hello again. What is your recommended method for saving for foreseen occasional large costs, such as home roof repairs, sinking funds? So yeah, it's not unforeseen. It's stuff that you know is coming up, but you don't know exactly when, or sort of irregular one-offs. Like
I think there's two ways to do that. One is to be able to cover it from your normal income, which is one option, and the other is to save up in a specific place, like in a specific bank account. Yeah. That would be my thing. There's not really a good option to be like, okay, so I can put it in, an interest-paying account for 5 years or whatever. Like, that's not really a thing in Japan. Like, if you invested it and the market was down when you needed the money, that would be pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I guess it depends what time scale we're looking at. If it's something that you think you'll need in 10 years' time, you might want to put some of the money in a NISA or something, or invest it otherwise.
Yes, I saw this in a book recently. What is it called? It might be dividend investing something, I think it was. Yeah, they said how you allocate your money depends when you're going to need it. And if you're going to need it in a year or so, bank account. Within, I think, 5 years, think about what are the resources you've got, and then your attitude to risk. So would you be okay with this not quite being worth as much as you put in? Then put it something not so risky, maybe bonds or something. And then anything beyond 10 years, stock market. So that's the
makes sense.
Conditional answer. Matt Black asks, any updates on the Kodomo NISA, the children's NISA? This was
not that I've. So basically, it sounds like it's going to happen. It's very clever the way they proposed this, because the last junior NISA got axed, basically didn't get renewed because Komeito specifically thought it basically benefited rich people, basically people who could afford to invest money on their children's names and so on. So it was seen as unfair. Whereas the new proposal doesn't give any special benefits. It just says that young people can access their adult NISA early. So they're not getting anything extra. They just get to use the account that everyone can use early. And the benefit for the children and the parents is that they get an extra 10, 20 years of compounding, which is enormous, right? But yeah, the proposal is just that you get to use the Tsumitate NISA early.
Right.
So apparently it's going to start next year. I don't know if it's 100% decided, but that's, so what we know so far.
Okay. Going back to the paying pensions and stuff, getting pension payments. CBGB, hello. Thank you for answering questions in the chat. That's nice to see. Hirogin, Hiroshima Ginko, will charge 2,500 yen for a social security direct deposit. Maybe other banks do that as well. So if you are getting a social security or a pension direct deposit set up, you might want to check with any bank charges that you will have to pay and see if other banks don't have those charges.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like Sony and Shinsei kind of market themselves on dealing with international transfers, so that might be good to check out as well.
Yes, yeah.
Was a question about owning abroad?
Oh yeah.
So the one on the forum, because basically Skype got shut down. Like it's still part of some kind of Microsoft thing, but it's not a separate thing anymore. So Rakuten has something called Viber, Rakuten Viber, which is a good way apparently to call overseas.
Rakuten Viber, not heard of that.
Yeah, it's basically similar. You pay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'll put a link to that in the chat as well. We're full of useful links for everyone today, aren't we? Wow. CL has a hot tip for making loads of money at retirement. Open an archery range. Oh no, they say there's probably no money to be made, but CL still wants to open an archery range. That's brilliant. I've not heard of people doing that, but go for it.
I'd love to do some archery.
Yeah, haven't. I want to say go for it. I mean, get financial advice first. Don't take my word for it. But that sounds like an exciting sort of venture to try out. Gift tax needs reform, says Daniel. Yeah, it does seem kind of crazy. Alminox, actually, how much is the pension in Japan?
So yeah, if it's the Kokumin Nenkin, which is the basic pension, the maximum is around 65,000 yen a month, which is not a lot. And Kosei Nenkin, which is the kind of company employee pension, is going to depend on how much you paid in, what your salary was, and all sorts of stuff. So, but you know, assuming you paid in for your whole career, it'd be around maybe 200,000 yen a month. But you'd have to look at your own numbers. You get a statement from the pension agency every year, so that's the best way to check it. Around your birthday, you should get a little postcard, and that'll tell you your projections. If you've paid in enough, you have to pay in for 10 years before you get a projection. But once you've done that, you'll start getting projections every year, which say, you know, this is roughly how much you'll be getting.
Sticking with pensions. So Russell says, in the US, if I die, my spouse will get my social security (pension). But in Japan, I don't think that happens. It depends if it's before or after retirement, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, and whether you've got kids and stuff. That's part of the recent bill. They're reforming that slightly. But I think it's probably best to assume they wouldn't and make provision accordingly.
Right. Okay. Going back to the gift tax, Whiskey, a good username, they've heard that if you take out more than 1.1 million cash, so 1.1 million yen is the limit above which you will start having to pay gift tax if you give money to somebody. And it's
not quite.
Oh,
it's the recipient. So you can receive 1.1 million yen a year before paying gift tax.
I beg your pardon. Okay, thank you.
So it doesn't matter how much you give away. That's not your problem because the recipient pays gift tax.
Okay, interesting. So their comment here was, if you take out, as the giver, if you take out more than 1.1 million cash out of your account and then you pass away, you die, the people, the tax officials, I guess, they will assume that you have gifted that, and then they will take that back as part of your estate. I don't know about that.
Possibly if you get audited. The vast majority of estates don't pay inheritance tax and don't get audited. So, don't know.
Okay.
I haven't heard that myself, but not an expert.
Yeah. Portville is interested in investment.
A lot more than 1.1 million yen in cash a year. So yeah, to spend. So,
right.
Do you know what I mean? How they precisely.
I think they mean like you said, one lump sum thing that looks like, I don't know. Speak to an accountant, which is also what I would say to Portville, who is interested in investment real estate, not necessarily for investment advice, but yeah. So before we get to that, I mean, if you have an accountant, which I recommend, we found ours useful because she would say what other people are doing in our situation. So, oh, I know somebody else who's married to a Japanese wife and they've got this property or something and they're doing this. Don't recommend it. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but that's what other people are doing in your situation. You might want to look into it. So that was helpful. But yes, as you say, if you want to learn more from experts and professionals, Ziv and the people at the Japan Real Estate Summit that we just posted the link to earlier, I've got lots of videos and information there. Shall I stick that into the chat one more time? As the summit itself as well is good, not just for the talks, but meeting everybody else there. A lot of people, I went once, a lot of people there to learn. A lot of people are actually doing this stuff and just want to pick up tips. So they've got their own advice. So it's not just the people giving the talks that you can learn from.
Yeah.
Going back to being charged for pension or social security direct deposits, Japan Post Bank apparently does not have a charge for that. You need to confirm that, but I assume that's true. Yeah, the questions are very, very good. Thank you so much. We're just sort of trying to jump around here. So you can delay receiving your pension in Japan. Is that correct? House-Born conclusion.
Yes. Oh. Yes, and it's possibly a good idea for most people because basically delaying your pension so that you get a larger pension every month, it's insurance against living for a long time. Right. So obviously, if you delay your pension and you die early, then you're losing out. But as someone who's dead, that doesn't matter, right? So the danger is living for a really long time and not having enough money. So if you can afford to delay taking your pension, it's supposed to be actuarially neutral. So across the population as a whole, it doesn't matter when you take your pension. It should result in the same kind of numbers.
I mean, that's
but for
based on
you,
sort of average living age.
exactly. But for the individual, you could live for a very long time, for example. And in that case, you'd want to have a larger pension because you don't want to be managing your Rakuten securities account when you're 98. It's better to have a larger pension and fewer investments at that point. So, yeah, I would consider delaying your pension. I would not take your pension early because that's the opposite, isn't it? You're betting that you're going to die quickly. And if you don't, then you're going to be in trouble because your pension is going to be much smaller than it would be otherwise.
Right. So that's exactly the question that CL had as well. Is it beneficial? Officially, it's not beneficial at any particular time because it's all neutral. But if you assume you're going to live a long time, you might want to make sure you're not going to struggle later on.
Yeah. And basically, it's the risk reward, right? If you die early, it doesn't matter what your pension is because you're dead. It doesn't matter. But if you live for a really long time and you don't have a big enough pension, that's terrible. So that is the worst outcome, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. I read a really good book on economic history once, and it was von Neumann, I think the guy's name is, and he had this minimax theory. So you look for the minimal chance of the maximum possible loss, I think it was, when you come to a decision or something. We try to minimize the chance of the maximum possible loss. So I think it would be this, like the maximum possible loss is struggling really, really badly when you reach old age. So you find the minimum, how to minimize the chance of that happening. And that's how you make your decision.
Yeah.
Going back up a bit, 1, 2, 3, Schlepp again. There's a good question here. I'm going to put this up. So on LinkedIn and all over the internet, you can see these. In fact, sometimes you can see it on the street posts as well, like make money by answering surveys or whatever. Well, sometimes it's data collection. But anyway, there is a thing like answering surveys, and there are subreddits devoted to this. Online, you join a particular website or a club or something, you will get sent professional surveys, fill them in, and you get some money. Now, it says here, we will offer you 5,000 yen for a 30-minute survey. That might be the first one, but I don't think that's going to continue. So is this an okay way to make money? The stuff that I've read, and I've not done this, but I've read people discussing this in Reddit subforums, is the money is actually not good and it gets below minimum wage pretty quickly. And the reason is that the time it takes to do some things might be very long, but also you have to jump through hoops to actually get accepted. So they want a particular demographic to do this particular survey. And so you might do an initial test or something and then not get accepted. So you just spent a little bit of time preparing for that and you're not getting paid for that. And sometimes you will get accepted. You can do the thing, you will get paid for it. But when you add up all the time you spent together and then the money you receive, it works out at pretty low per hour. So generally,
that makes sense.
Whether it's a scam or not, I think that depends on the individual thing. Some of them are not scams, some of them are fine, some of them are. So you're going to have to be careful. But in general, I've not seen anybody who's saying this is a good way to make money compared to other ways you could do it legally.
Yeah. I don't really have any experience with surveys. I did want to answer this, though, which is a really interesting comment from Whiskey again. So Whiskey says, I disagree about taking the pension late. It's better economically to take the extra 5 years from 65 to 70. Yes, possibly. But I would say this isn't an economic issue. It's not maximizing the amount of revenue you get from your pension. It's insurance, basically. It's insurance against living for a very long time. So for me, it's not about getting the maximum amount of money. It's about reducing that kind of terrible outcome of being, 107 and not having enough money.
Right, we're getting towards the end of the questions, but we have a very specific one here from Almanox again. Very active today, Almanox. Thank you. I'm planning on retiring at 60 and we'll have 400,000 yen per month until I turn 70, and then this person will start receiving their Danish pension and get 550,000 per month for the rest of their life to cover their spouse, their wife too. at my current saving levels, will this suffice? Wow.
So that depends on how much money you want to spend.
Good point.
So the thing about how much money do I need in retirement? How much money do I need to live on? It's completely different for everyone. So the best way to figure it out is to track your current spending, figure out what you spend at the moment, and then think about the future. What are you going to want to spend in the future? And then be aware that as you get older, most people spend less as they get older because they become less active. With the exception of possibly spending on medical treatment or nursing care. But generally, when you're 60, you might be traveling and going to different countries and doing things. And then when you're 70, probably a bit less. When you're 80, you're unlikely to be traveling internationally, and so on. So you have those. And then in Japan, medical treatment is not as expensive as it is in some places. And people in Japan tend to be more healthy. They have longer kind of active years. So that might not be such a big thing. So, but we don't know. So it's very much we can guess and we can make a plan, but you're gonna have to adjust as you go.
Yeah, Whiskey makes a good point though that is above the average salary in Japan, which I think is around 300,000. So if you think of it like that, then it's above average, which it ticks one box at least.
Yeah.
And then Russell has a point. How many people are dying early because they don't have enough money for those extra years when they end up living longer? I don't think we have any statistics on that.
No, but if you look at that, so I did a video maybe last year, where I reacted to a TV program about people living on the basic pension, and that was really grim. So maybe go back and check out that video. It doesn't have numbers, but it shows you what I think is fairly close to the worst case scenario.
Right. You keep talking like that so that nobody notices. You've got this smooth transition here whilst I quickly find the link to that video.
Oh, right, cool. I was going to look for it. Cool.
Actually, you can look for it because I can't find it. Go ahead. And I'll smoothly take over and nobody will notice. Other comments and questions? Current spending. Okay. I think we pretty much got to the end of the questions there. We're going to continue in a minute with we got a money tip coming up. So stay tuned for that. But before that, we've got the link to the video, which is about this. Yeah, I remember that I've seen something similar as well, where people surprised that they thought the Japanese pension had them covered and it didn't. And then I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about actually sort of losing your life. I'm sure that does happen. But even if you can so-called survive, it's still not not something you want to really live through.
Yeah, I mean, we do have kind of benefits. Seikatsu hogo. So foreign residents are not guaranteed to have access to those benefits. That they basically paid on the discretion of your local authority, and I wouldn't depend on that. And it's pretty miserable because there's lots of rules and they're very restrictive about who gets benefits and so on. So
yes, now I don't have a link for it, but I saw an article the other day. Again, I think maybe you shared it. Somebody who was not allowed to have a car because they were on benefits, and then they were allowed to have a car because they were a special situation because they had to get to the supermarket or maybe
the hospital.
It was hospital.
They weren't allowed to use it to go shopping.
Right, and they did, and then they got into trouble for it because they could.
So just stuff like that. It's miserable.
That seems outrageous.
In the past, you weren't allowed to have air conditioning.
Really?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, obviously, they changed that now because it would be dangerous to not have air conditioning at the moment. But yeah, basically any kind of luxury. If you're living on public money, you're not allowed to have luxuries because not fun.
Yeah. Wow.
I posted the video.
Oh, very, very smooth. Thank you. Right. Oh, we've done questions. There's a lot of questions. Thank you very much there. We got a frivolous purchase confessional. Do you want to do that, or should we move on?
We'll skip that one, I think.
Yeah. Okay. The money tip, we've got a couple here, but we can skip mine for next time. But we can do yours because I think that's relevant for what you're doing right now. And before we
yes, it's actually providing me internet access. Woo! Yeah, so my tip is, and you're probably doing this already, but if you go abroad, rather than buying a physical SIM card or using a Japanese-based provider, you can actually get an eSIM very, very easily. So this is basically a virtual SIM card. So modern phones can do this basically. So you can upload an eSIM to your phone. And for me, the huge benefit isn't so much the cost, because buying a physical SIM is equally cheap, but just being able to land and turn your phone on and it works, rather than having to go to a newsagent and find something, really game changing. So yeah, really recommend this. I'm using something called Saily, but there's a whole bunch of different ones. And so if I'm going to a different country, I go onto the website, I buy the eSIM, load it into my phone, and as soon as the plane lands, the phone is up and running. And it's easy to add data and stuff. So, for example, my hotel Wi-Fi here is not working. Complete nightmare, but I'm actually using the phone as a hotspot. This streaming platform uses quite a lot of data, so I had to buy some extra data just to make sure there was enough on there, but it was very easy. It took about a minute, and it means that we were able to do RetireJapan TV today, because otherwise I'd have had to cancel it.
So you're using it right now. As we say, we're not sponsored by this or anything, but you're using it right now for this call.
Yeah, I'm hotspotting off the phone, which is over there on the counter. So.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's slowed down a few times, but generally it's been good enough, hasn't it?
Yeah. So no, I'm super happy with this. I used it for the last 3 trips or so. Right. And yeah, so much better than fiddling around changing SIMs and trying to find the right package to buy at the newsagent or whatever. So
yeah. I'm a bit behind the times. I didn't know about this, and last time we went, I got a pocket Wi-Fi, picked it up at the airport, and then dropped it off after, and that worked out about 80 man yen or something, 10,000 yen for just over a week, which seems really expensive now. I look at this alternative. I will say though, I think you have to make sure that your phone is compatible with eSIMs. If you've got a slightly older phone, it might not have the eSIM capability.
So I've got a Pixel 7a, which is 2 generations back, and that works. The Pixel 6a didn't have eSIMs, I think. So as long as your phone isn't more than maybe a couple of years old, it should be fine.
Right.
But yeah, check. If you can look on the provider. So if you go to an eSIM provider, they'll have a list of which phones work with their product. So.
Right. 123 Schlep has Holafly and Airalo as a couple of other suggestions there. Good. Thank you. Good money tip. Before we move on to forum updates, important question. How is the UK? You were there, weren't you, before you were in Spain? You were in the UK.
Yeah, so assuming this is about the eSIM, I got a Europe eSIM because I'm going to 3 countries. So I went to the UK, I'm in Spain now, I'm going to Germany next. And yeah, it's great. So I bought one thing that covered all of them. Instead of buying, you can buy by country, and you can also buy by region. And I think the region is slightly more expensive than a single country, but it's cheaper than buying different countries separately, and you get to share the data basically across the countries. So yeah, it's been great. Yes, that's a really good point from James. So some providers give you overseas use, so you might not need the eSIM at all. So it's definitely worth checking that as well.
Oh, your existing Japanese provider.
Yeah, your Japanese provider. So Ahamo does this. I thought it was just America, but maybe it's any country. You'd probably have to check the terms and conditions.
Yeah, Ahamo. I heard of them recently. I bought a secondhand phone from Nico Suma, which I've used a couple of times now. I like them for buying secondhand phones. And it came up with a little flyer for Ahamo in it, which I'd not heard of. But they were created by NTT, or they're affiliated with NTT, I think, or
It's
something like that. It
Stockholm.
was
Stockholm was low-cost
Oh,
provider,
it's their
isn't it?
official one. Oh, okay, right. That makes sense now. Yeah, it looked pretty good when I looked into it. Quite good value. I didn't realize it got that
I was
roaming
thinking
as
of
well.
switching. So I use Eon, your friendly local supermarket, and I'm really happy with them. But yeah, Ahamo does have that overseas roaming thing, which looks kind of cool. But to be honest, with this eSIM thing, like it's so cheap and so easy, I might just use this going forward.
That's a good tip. I'm going to put a link to Ahamo as well, actually, for everybody. So I think we can then move on to the forum. And before you dive into that, I just want to say that people might have been having trouble accessing the Retire Japan website and the Retire Japan forum over the past, I think, couple of weeks or so. Been hit by bots, basically, really badly. And I think we have it under control now. It's certainly been working at least for the past 24 hours. So apologies for the disruption.
That Wii's doing a lot of work there.
Apologies for the disruption. Should be okay now.
Yeah, hopefully. So it's been pretty bad. So sorry if you've been trying to read the forum and weren't able to, but our resident tech genius, I think, has fixed that.
Tech genius, yeah. Speaking of which, forum updates then. Do you have any for us?
I don't. So just go and read the forum now that you can. Now that it's not been shut down by bots from other countries. Yeah, go and have a look on there. There's some good stuff.
Okay, I'll put the link in there. And then final Q&As. We've got a couple of minutes left, I think, haven't we? We did that actually previously, yeah. I think we've covered all the Q&As then, unless anyone's got any last things to say in the chat. No, all good. Okay, wow, we're under 2 hours.
No, that was great. So I'm really happy it happened. I did think I was going to have to cancel this because, yeah, my hotel Wi-Fi was really bad last night and isn't working at all today. But fortunately, we managed to jury rig something there.
Yes. Any views on inflation? It's going up. The Bank of Japan held interest rates today, didn't they? Announced they're holding it steady rather than raising interest rates. So they think that. What does that mean? They think inflation might still go up. Then I think based on that. No, they don't. I get confused.
No, it means it's not an issue, I guess, if they're holding.
Right. So. Yeah, that's it. Yes. They don't think it's going to get any worse for the time.
I don't know. The only thing, actually, maybe you saw the recent Japan Times article where I talked about inflation. No, it's so basically the main thing is to try and have some slack in your budget and your planning and so on, because we don't know what's going to happen with inflation. We don't have any control over inflation. So what can we do to protect ourselves? We can make sure that even if prices go up, we're going to be okay. So the main way to do that is to spend a bit less, save and invest a bit more. Yeah.
Good. And we have somebody late to the party, but we're so kind. We'll let you sneak in. Hello there. They were wondering, is it worth changing from a K car to a normal family-sized car when you have children?
It depends how many kids you have, really. What your use case is. Some people say, that K cars are less safe than other cars. Possibly, but then I don't like this arms race where everyone has to drive 3-ton tanks just to be safe on the road. Like that just makes things worse for everyone, I think. So yeah, it depends. So we're getting a wagon this year, a wagonsha, because we've got 4 grandkids in Japan, and so yeah, if we want to take them anywhere, we need a bigger car. So, but your mileage may vary, right? Literally.
Yes. Yeah. Financially, I'm not sure if it's long-term to make a huge difference because you get the initial startup costs are higher with a K car. Buying a K car is more expensive than buying the equivalent family car because of the advantages of having a K car. I think the resale prices tend to be higher with K cars. It's a few years since I've bought one, so I might have got my information wrong. Oh, actually, yes, a normal cars also after COVID because we couldn't get parts and stuff. So general supply chain dried up. So I think maybe
don't
my
think
information is old now.
Yeah, K-car resale values used to be higher, but now they're not. Like, for example, buying a minivan. So we found buying a second-hand minivan now is more expensive than buying a new one because you can't buy a new one. You have to order it and wait for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I think all cars pretty much are in that weird situation.
Yeah. Very kind comment from David. Thank you so much. I am vertical. Yes, I am. Last time I was lying down on the floor. This time I'm sitting up like a normal person. And thank you. I got a bad back. It's about 90% better now. I got a little support cushion here, but I'm able to move around. I'm active again, and hopefully try and be more careful and at least be more proactive in looking after myself. So I appreciate you noticing that. Thank you. For conclusion, ask a recommended insurance company.
I don't have one. Go to kakaku.com and just get some quotes.
Yeah, you mentioned that last time.
Be careful because they'll spam you forever. So make sure that you use an email address that you can turn off or get rid of. Or you could go to Hoken no Madoguchi and get quotes as well with no obligation.
I'm putting the link in there, this hoken.kakaku.com. I used this when I got life insurance recently. I got the basic one that you recommend, the term life, I think it is. And I looked at this. It was very helpful. I didn't sign up. I was still able to look at the sort of comparison charts. And then I went with whatever one it recommended. I've forgotten which one now. And it was all very straightforward and it was pretty cheap. So, I would just go there. As Ben says, don't worry about signing up so you don't get spammed.
Yes. Yeah. Or be aware, if you ask for, quotes, all the companies will email you forever until the end of the, Earth's useful life.
Okay. I think we're done.
Ooh,
Thank you very much.
We're over 2 hours. So I think we're good. I'm going to have lunch.
Right.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your time over there.
Thank you.
And we'll see you at the next one. July something?
July. Good question. July 23rd.
23rd. Okay.
Same. I think it'll be a Wednesday again. It'll be 8 o'clock. And see you there.
Nice one. Great.
Go and subscribe to the YouTube channel because we're like 40 people away from being 10,000 subscribers.
So close. Okay. Thanks all. Bye everyone.